Hello there. Welcome into a Thursday edition of the show. So glad to have you, whether you're listening on your radio, streaming the show online at extrasports1300.com, or you've downloaded the Extra Sports 1300 app to do your listening. And that app, which is free to download and free to use, is sponsored by Diversus Health, mental health and well-being for all. More familiar surroundings today as I am back in studio. The travel plans are non-existent over the next week. So back in studio with a veritable cornucopia of sports topics coming your way over the course of the program. Got two guests. Corey Roldan from KKTV 11 will be my guest in the next segment. And then Jeff Fedotin, who covers the Chiefs, will join me in hour number 2 as we really start getting into Sunday's game. And I have a question that I want to ask off the top, and I'll just propose it, and then you can fire away, and we'll get into this topic as we proceed. 719-247-1313. Who is this game more important to? The Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, because I think both teams have some importance, a lot of it, to this game. But who's it more important to? Take your thoughts on that. I'll ask my guests that question as well. But I want to start with the Denver Nuggets. And I went on quite a bit yesterday about Nikola Jokic and what he did against the Sacramento Kings. And I did not think, and shame on me, did not think he was going to follow it up with an arguably better performance. I mean, it's the second night of a back-to-back, for Pete's sake. The very next quarter of basketball that Nikola Jokic played after that masterclass he put on against the Kings, he drops 25 in the first quarter. He was on pace for what would have been the ultimate not since Wilt. He was on track to do the thing that Wilt is known for. And only because he sat most of the second quarter did he fall off the pace. If that game last night would have been, if it would have been continued going the way that it had when Nikola Jokic came out of the game, I don't think Nikola Jokic would have stopped at 55. I don't think he would have stopped. But you saw it last night, another example of whatever this Nuggets team needs. In that moment, Nikola Jokic will provide. Now, does he go into a game with a certain game plan? And I think it's facilitating getting everyone else involved. I think that's what he would like to do. But you saw it as clearly as I did and as Nikola Jokic did. First few minutes of that Clippers game, it's like, oh, they don't have it. On the second night of a back-to-back, the Nuggets don't have it. So it starts with Nikola Jokic rim running and throwing down a thunderous dunk, which he only pulls out for very special occasions. That got the boys juiced up. And it was a harbinger of things to come. Because he drops 25 in the first quarter. And you know why he dropped 25 points in the first quarter? Do you know why he scored 55 last night? Because the Nuggets needed him to. Some nights the Nuggets need him to rebound. Some nights they need him to facilitate for others. Last night they needed him to score. Because no one else on the Denver Nuggets was looking themselves. They lost 2/5 of their starting lineup over the course of that game. Christian Brown and Cam Johnson got hurt. And it makes you appreciate what the Nuggets currently have when you get kind of a flashback to what it was. And I'm talking about the bench. The non-Jokic minutes were a problem for the Denver Nuggets last night. So it makes you appreciate that last night was an outlier for Jonas Valanciunas, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway, and company. They've been very good through 10 games. Game 11 wasn't their night. So you kind of get a side-by-side comparison one night after the Sacramento game of what the Nuggets are now and what they used to be. I mean, the very next quarter, he puts up 25 points. And I've decided that moving forward, it would just be best to not hear from David Adelman. Nothing against David Adelman, but there's this sense from David Adelman. He's like, what else do you want me to say about this guy? What else can I do? What else can I say? I think it's better to hear from the opposition that only gets to see him a few times a year. Here's Tyronn Lue on what the game plan was against Nikola Jokic last night.
Our game plan was to, make him score and just take away his passing, take everybody else out of the game. I thought the first half we did a good job with that. We knew Jamal Murray would be more aggressive in the second half. But I didn't think he would score 55.
I think he'd score 55. Yeah, he would. And he did in 34 minutes, by the way. He didn't even play more than he usually does, or than he has this season. In fact, they had to put him back into the game. He would have been done sooner. But there's some worry about him sitting too much. Look at where we're at. Look at us. The Paul Rudd meme from Hot Ones. Look at us. We are talking about Nikola Jokic can't sit for too long. That's now the worry. We need the non-Jokic minutes are too good. We need Jokic back in there. They forced him back in the game. They didn't need him to go back in the game. $55 points on 18 of 23 shooting. He missed 2 free throws, by the way. So he missed 7 shots all night. Most points that he's ever scored in the first quarter, if you were wondering. But here's the thing about it. Ty Lue not only is one of the best coaches that we have in this league, they just played the Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series. Ty Lue is no stranger to playing a Nikola Jokic-led team. And you know what he had last night? The right game plan. It was absolutely the right game plan. Because we've talked about on this show many a time, the best version of Nikola Jokic is not scoring 40 or 50 points. In fact, that was the 5th game in his career that he scored 50 points. That's the first time the Nuggets have won a game like that. Think about that. Nikola Jokic has dropped at least 50 in a game 5 times, and the Nuggets before last night were 0-4. Tyronn Lue had it absolutely right. And look, it's not like anyone really came to Nikola Jokic's rescue. As Lou mentioned there, yeah, Jamal Murray got a little bit more aggressive in the second half. He only ended up with like 15 points. They lost Christian Brown. They lost Cam Johnson. We would actually, there's kind of 2 separate storylines here. The most important one is what Nikola Jokic continues to do. But there's a second storyline, which the Denver Nuggets should have lost that game, even with the performance that Nikola Jokic put up, because that's absolutely what you want Nikola Jokic to be doing. As unbelievable as it is that this guy can put up 55 points, 25 of them in the first quarter. That's what you want to do. You want to make him a scorer. And the Clippers did. The reason why the Denver Nuggets didn't lose that game was because the LA Clippers, to be polite about it, are terrible. Terrible. They just lost Bradley Beal for the season. Kawhi Leonard was sitting on the bench in street clothes. What else is new? It was Harden and Zubats taking on the Denver Nuggets. That's not enough. Part of the reason why that series went 7 games is because Kawhi played. So the Nuggets should have lost that game. Nobody cares, because the more important thing to talk about is what Nikola Jokic did. But if they were playing a better team than the LA Clippers, they would have lost. But that doesn't mean we can't marvel still at what Nikola Jokic is doing, and not his fault. You're going to criticize the guy because he put up 55 points because no one else seemed to be bothered to show up to Intuit Dome on the second night of a back-to-back? What we are seeing from Nikola Jokic, and I said this yesterday, so forgive me if it sounds like I'm repeating myself. This is a ridiculous start to the season, even by his standards. To do what he did against Sacramento, to follow it up the very next quarter with 25 points, and round to a 55-point night. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And Nikola Jokic is playing so good right now. Like, it's one thing if I'm marveling at it or you're marveling at it. Right? We're honks for Nikola Jokic, right? This is how good Nikola Jokic has been. May I present to you noted Nikola Jokic detractor, Kendrick Perkins on ESPN.
I grew up a Rockets fan. Clutch City, Elijah Warren. I watched him my entire childhood life, okay? And he makes Elijah Warren great games look like regular games, the numbers that he's putting up. He's the most skilled player to ever play the game.
I almost fainted when I saw that clip. Nikola Jokic is playing so good right now that even Kendrick Perkins can not only can he not detract from what Nikola Jokic is doing, he took one of the all-time best centers and said what Jokic is doing is dwarfing him. Nikola Jokic has been so good, he's getting Kendrick Perkins to be hyperbolic about his exploits. That's how good this guy has been. And the Denver Nuggets last night needed every single one of the 55 points that he scored. 719-24-7, 1313. Continue to marvel. This is the platform for it. Coming up next, I'll ask Corey Roldan about what he saw from Jokic, and then we'll pivot into the Broncos and Chiefs game. Who needs this game more? Who is it more important to? The Denver Broncos or the Kansas City Chiefs?
It should work now. Let me turn this down.
You know, we're trying to get ready for the most important professional football game of the year here, and this guy that plays basketball in Denver is stealing all the headlines right now. So let me start there with my guest. He is the outstanding sports anchor for KKTV 11. He is Corey Wait, Corey, I didn't bring you up yet. What do you got there in your office?
Oh, this is just in honor of Nikola Jokic, a little horse. You know, I call him Joker. He's a Bronco too. Kind of works either way. You know, Joker, the Broncos. Which is that RJ Harvey? I don't know. It's not Evan Ingram, but it's definitely Nikola Jokic. So
what I admire about you and people in your line of work, because I get 3 hours. I'm incredibly verbose. I don't always get straight to the point quickly. You have to in your line of work. So let me ask you to be as succinct as possible to describe what you are seeing from Nikola Jokic right now.
Someone who's perfected the game of basketball.
See,
it's an artist, dude. It's an artist. The efficiency. He missed his first 2 shots last night and then went on to go 17 for 22 from the floor, 77%. He 83% from 3 and 85% from the free throw line, putting up numbers 55, 11, and 6. Ty Lue, after the game, said we wanted to make him score. Well, that didn't work out, Ty. I mean, it's just incredible. The guy somehow each year gets better, and you got to enjoy watching him. Anytime Nikola Jokic is playing basketball, you have to turn on the TV and just watch this art because it is a master at work. I don't want to hear anything about Wemby. I don't want to hear anything about SGA. There is not a close second to the best player in the NBA.
What has been a more surprising, but in a great way, development? The Jokic minutes because of what he's doing, or the non-Jokic minutes?
The non-Jokic minutes is always the story, right?
Mm.
So that's been like the Nuggets last year were -9, they're -10. Anytime Jokic would go out, they would lose leads. But Jonas Valanciunas is still a top 25 center in the NBA. He's top 20 center, if we're going to be honest. And he only plays 15 minutes a game, and he almost averages a double-double in those minutes. He's great. He's skilled. I still want to see both of them play at the same time, like a big-on-big lineup, because I think that would be terrible defense, but some beautiful offense. And those non-Jokic minutes with Tim Hardaway Jr. being able to get hot, that makes this Nuggets team so dangerous. And let's be honest here, Ryan, they're a 45-foot Steph Curry shot and a foul that should have been called in Portland from being 11-0.
Yeah, it's been a crazy start for them. Somehow, well, I don't know, because we do Broncos country, so the Broncos rule over it all. But I mean, to take away some of the shine and the talk about what's going to happen on Sunday, it just tells you how remarkable it is what Jokic is doing, and by extension what this Nuggets team is doing.
I have a question for you. Is he the greatest athlete in Colorado sports history?
I'm gonna stick with Elway, but with the caveat that just wait till he's done. Wait till he's done, and I'm sure I'm gonna change my.
He's pretty close, man.
Yeah.
And if he wins another championship and gets another MVP, that's 2 rings and 4 MVPs for a franchise that did nothing in 40 years prior to him. Never made it. Dude, the guy is just incredible. He's an artist, dude. He's slow. He plays at his own pace. He's smart. He's better defensively than people realize because he has high IQ and he puts players in the right position. Him and Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon deserves all the praise too right now. He leads the NHL with points, assists, and goals. All 3.
Yeah.
Triple crown.
Yeah. We might be heading, you and I talked about this earlier, we might be heading for more MVPs for both of those guys.
And parades.
And parades,
We love
potentially.
parades.
So that's actually a great transition as we move to the Denver Broncos.
No parade.
Is there parade talk if the Broncos win on Sunday?
I think there's division title talk. I think there's potentially getting the 1 seed in the AFC. I think this team can win a playoff game. I don't know if they're going to win a Super Bowl this year just because of the way the offense is playing. But I will say with this Denver Broncos team, man, this is the biggest regular season game in a long time, right? You got to think back to that Patriots game in 2015 in overtime in the snow. What was that, C.J. Anderson?
Yeah, C.J. Anderson, yeah.
Is this the biggest regular season game since then? I kind of think so.
It's got to be, and you also think in the history with Kansas City and in Denver, it's been even longer than that since the shoe was on the other foot, because I don't want the importance of this game for Kansas City to be overlooked.
No, they need to win.
Yeah,
they even in the wild card.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been since Peyton Manning, that there's been a game where the shoe has been on the other foot and the Kansas City Chiefs are chasing the Denver Broncos. And it's been even longer than that to when you could make a case that both are among the best teams in the NFL playing at the same time.
Yeah, it's around when 2015, 2014, Alex Smith years and then the Peyton years. But this is a huge game for both teams. The Broncos really could take control of the division, and then they play some teams that they should beat with the Commanders and the Raiders, the Jags. But this Chiefs team, man, honestly, offensively, they look better than they did last year. They were a little they won a lot of close games, but they didn't look good. They look good this year. Mahomes looks Mahomey. And defensively with Spags, they're still really good. So they're going to give the Broncos a lot of trouble. The Chiefs are better than what their record says. They're better than 5-4. They played some tough teams. They played obviously a good Bills team on the road. They played early on the Chargers in Brazil and lost. They lost kind of a fluky game to the Jags. But the Chiefs team, they're still the Chiefs. They're still the team to beat in the AFC. And you can't count them out until they're actually out. And for the Broncos, we talked about this. For me, it's about controlling the line of scrimmage, time of possession, getting pressure on Mahomes, which the Broncos have done the last 2 years, especially at home, and get turnovers. If they do those three things, time of possession, pressure, turnovers, they will win.
So I think I know your answer, given what you just said, but I'll ask the question. Bigger loss for them on Sunday, Pat Surtain or J.K. Dobbins?
I actually, it's Dobbins. Pat Surtain's the best cornerback in the NFL. I don't want to discredit Pat Surtain. I actually have a different thought process with the Chiefs offense. I think they spread the ball around and they have a lot of different weapons. They don't have a number one target that's absolutely dominant that Pat can go and just lock down. I know we think of Kelsey, but I don't think Kelsey is nearly the same player he has been like even 3-4 years ago right now. So Dobbins, what is he in the NFL? Let's see. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. What is sixth?
Sixth in the NFL in rushing? Is that right?
No, I'm fifth.
And he's 16 yards away from being third in the NFL in rushing. He's got over 770 yards rushing. He's been the best part of the Broncos offense this year. Now, I'm excited to see what Harvey does. He's dynamic running back. I'm in agreement with you that they're going to split carries, but I think he's going to get a lot more touches. And when he has gotten a little bit of holes, he's done a really good job of making players miss and in finding holes. So I'm excited to see what the rookie can do. And if he can give this offense just a little bit of spark, get it like break a 20-yard run here and there just to give the offense a little bit of juice. Because when this offense has been good, Harvey has scored. The Texans game wheel route. The Cowboys gave me a 3, but he broke off that long run on the second drive of the game. And then obviously the Bengals game, he was pretty good as well.
Where are you at? Let me take your temperature on Bo Nix after because they've had 2 games since you and I last chatted. So where are you at with Bo Nix right now?
It's just the same thing over and over. Set your feet, trust. It's confidence. Bo has somehow lost confidence during this winning streak. He's not hitting the same throws as he hit last year. He's not seeing, I don't know if he's not trusting his eyes or he's just not seeing, because there's guys open. There's a couple plays in that Raiders game where people were open and he just didn't throw the ball. And he likes to move his feet. Okay. He thinks, like he says, he plays best when he throws on the run. But there's an old saying with quarterbacks: when your feet are fast, your mind is slow. When your feet are slow, your mind is fast. So I would just like Bo to kind of simple it down a little bit, read the defense, and get rid of the ball quickly and slow the game down a little bit for him. Also, I would let him run just to run, get him going, because that seems to get his
100%. Yeah, it doesn't have to be design these runs for him like he's Michael Vick. Like, just there were times in the Texans game especially where it's like there were moments where he could run and then he just didn't, because I think Sean Payton is in his head.
Well, and it's also, Ryan, to your point, my problem with him throwing on the run so much, it's either make a decision, either stay in the pocket, throw, or run. He's like doing both, right? He's like a deer in the snow. He's a little frantic-y, and he starts running up in the pocket and he throws on the run, and it's a bad ball. Run or throw it.
Yeah. Well, certainly.
Troy Franklin needs to catch the football too.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's that. And he needs to look at, and Cortland Sutton needs more targets.
And then on the outside, Adam Troutman needs to block these screens. I know we hate the screen passes, but against the Raiders, there was 2 that might have went for 40 yards if Adam Troutman made his block. Put Pat Bryant out there. He don't miss no block.
Well, that's Lil Jordan Humphrey's job.
Yeah, perfect. Give Pat Bryant the ball more too.
Yeah, Sean Payton, the offensive wizard that he is, and we certainly have a lot of constructive criticism for the guy, and we'll see what he has up.
He is 8-2.
Yeah, he is, and he's done. I think overall a good job. You know where I stand on Bo Nix, and I think that Sean Payton is adjusting to that. But there's a middle ground here, and I don't know that he's quite found the balance all these weeks in. It would be a great time for the Broncos if he found the balance between what he wants Bo to do and what Bo does best on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. What game is that? What channel is that game on, by the way?
Oh, man, that's going to be on good old channel 11 KKTV.
Yeah, buddy.
Full coverage right after the game. You're going to see my face. The game ends, and you're going to see my face. So don't turn it off. Or turn it off if you want.
Well, no, that's tonight when they see who's joining you on KKTV.
That's at 5:30, by the way, or 5:50. So whenever you get done your radio hit, you can just turn on the channel, and you're going to be on.
I'm not going to do that, but other people, other people might. Corey Roldan, appreciate the time, but we'll talk soon.
I appreciate you. Just remember, appreciate Nikola Jokic.
We appreciate Nikola Jokic on this show. That is Corey Roldan of KKTV 11. Take your thoughts on anything you had to say. The question, who needs this game more, the Denver Broncos or the Kansas City Chiefs? Jeff Fedotin from Believe in Chiefs will answer that question coming up in a little bit. Coming up next, Avs locking that down. Sunday, kick off the holiday season with Trans-Siberian Orchestra live at the Broadmoor World Arena. They have 2 shows on Sunday, but I know what you're doing in the afternoon on Sunday, and I would not have you choose. So I have tickets to the 7:30 show on Sunday at the Broadmoor World Arena. Should be plenty of time for you to watch Denver, Kansas City, and then head to the World Arena. If you would like to go and you have 3 other people who you think would like to join you, be the 13th texter to text TSO and your name to 719-247 1313. That's the letters TSO and your name to 719-247 1313. Today, and this is what Chris McFarland does best, the Avalanche general manager. He is a whiz with the cap, but also getting guys extended. And today he got Scott Wedgwood to agree to a 1-year extension. And I tweeted out a GIF of Arrested Development when they meet the Veals, Ann's parents, and Ann's mom is a smoke show, and they're saying like, yeah, we got married young. He's like, well, who could blame you? You got to lock that down. When Jason Bateman said that, one of my favorite lines from Arrested Development. The way that Scott Wedgwood is playing, you got to lock that down. Even if it's if it's just a year, you got to get this guy under contract. And the Avalanche did today. 1 year, reportedly $2.5 million is what he's going to make next year for the Colorado Avalanche. There's a bigger picture here because they have Ilya Nabokov, who's their latest hot goalie prospect that's coming over from Russia, and he's the future. He's the future beyond Wedgwood, beyond Blackwood. He's their future. But now it's kind of 2 things. 1, you don't have to rush the guy, and 2, he's kind of struggling right now. So I think that's part of the equation here. But I think the biggest thing is just, look, this guy has been too good for us to not try and get at least 1 more year with him. And so now you have Blackwood and Wedgwood through at least next year. But the money kind of goes to what I was talking about yesterday. And I still believe that if the Avs hoist the Stanley Cup, it will be Mackenzie Blackwood in goal. I think it would be easy for Scott Wedgwood, in his circumstance to kind of try to parlay it. But I think there's a self-awareness there of who he is. And I don't mean this to, put him down or anything like that. He's been brilliant. But there's a pecking order in net in Colorado, and it's Mackenzie Blackwood is 1 or 1A. This is backup goalie money that Scott Wedgwood just got. And I thank him because, he could have parlayed it. He could have tried. Same with Marty Necas. Like, I don't know what he's actually going to get on the open market. But good on him for signing a deal and not even testing the market. It's better for the Avalanche that he doesn't. So good on Scott Wedgwood for doing this, for buying into the vision and his role with the team. But 1 year and $2.5 million says he's an extremely capable second goaltender. And if the Avs are going to get to where they want to go, they need to get Mackenzie Blackwood right. It's only been a couple of games. I haven't seen, he might be in net tonight for the Sabres. This would be, as opposed to the Ducks game, this would be a pretty soft landing spot for Blackwood to get in there and continue to work out some of the kinks that we've been seeing from him since he returned from injury. But this is good news. This is good news for the Colorado Avalanche. They don't have to rush to get to their future. And this still allows the Colorado Avalanche, now there's like nobody. They got Natchez locked down. They got McCarr's not till next year. Gavin Brindley they just signed, and now they have both goalies under contract next year. Like Chris McFarland's getting all his offseason work done now. And it's what he does best. You're not going to have 100% hit rate, Mikko Rantanen. But he's been very good at this since he took the reins fully over from Joe Sakic. Here's Scott Wedgwood on why he decided to sign on the dotted line today.
It's been a perfect fit from getting here. Been warm, welcome from everybody top to bottom, from Kroenke down to the people who cut the ice here. It's been just a whole family type feeling, and I try and integrate myself with everybody, and it's just been a place that my wife and I felt at home with. So obviously just a great hockey team, all those guys in that room, a lot of beers for putting me in this situation and things like that, but it's just been a good fit since I got here.
And that's a little, it's him being self-deprecating, but there is a little bit of self-awareness in there, right? We know what the premise of the Colorado Avalanche is. It's the investment, the real big-time investment goes in the guys playing in front of a goaltender. And because that part of their team is so loaded, they don't need a Shesterkin in goal. They don't need an Ottinger in goal. They just need a Darcy Kemper, who's very good. And we saw this with Georgiev. Like, it can't be terrible, but they don't need to spend like other teams do. They're always going to go into a series with Dallas or some of these other teams with great goaltending, and you're going to say that it's, advantage Avalanche opponent. But it's a salary cap league. You can only invest so many dollars. I feel like the Avalanche have invested wisely. And it helps along the way that you keep winning and you create an atmosphere that guys want to be a part of. And Wedgwood did. So stick tap to him for signing that deal today and ensuring that this goaltender tandem will be in place beyond this year. A couple of other Avs-related notes, or I guess the two Avs notes. One, Valeri Nichushkin is week to week. So here we go again with Valeri Nichushkin. Not the big here we go again. That's over and done with. Credit to Valeri Nichushkin, all that off-ice stuff he's taken care of, and I mean this, absolute credit to him. Because what it seemed like he was dealing with is not an easy thing to move past, but it seems like he has. What I mean, here we go again, is this injury that is kind of nebulous in how long he's going to be out. But you'd rather he get hurt on November 11th or whenever it was, early to mid-November than early to mid-March. So it doesn't seem like this injury is something that is going to put his availability for the stretch run in the playoffs in any kind of jeopardy. But it does seem like it's going to be something that lingers, and we're going to have like fits and starts. It'd be like, okay, is Valeri Nichushkin back now? No, not yet. Maybe another week. We're going to be playing that game a little bit with him. So the Avs are losing something over the next few weeks as they continue what has been a torrid start to the year. The guy that is replacing Valeri Nichushkin kind of to tie in all of the weak stories, Gavin Brindley is going to be on the second line with Landeskog and Brock Nelson. Now we really see what Gavin Brindley is. What a year Gavin Brindley is having. Like, we could talk about Nathan McKinnon and Scott Wedgwood and Cale Makar, but think about Gavin Brindley. What his last couple weeks have been. He earns a shot to play 3-on-3 overtime, wins the game for the Avs, gives them their first overtime win of the season, gets an extension, and now he's going to be playing with the captain and Brock Nelson. On that force multiplier line, that second line that turns a very good Avs team into a great team. And we'll see how Brindley fits. I'm interested to see it. I think this is the right call, though. You know, Jared Bednar has talked about he wants his lower lines to have an identity. And if there is a guy, it's not Parker Kelly. You don't elevate somebody like that. Jack Drury doesn't make any sense because of his position. I mean, Gavin Brindley makes the most sense, but you want to keep the Kivi Rantas, the Parker Kellys. Obviously, Logan O'Connor's hurt right now, but if he were healthy, he wouldn't be a player that you would want to necessarily elevate. Gavin Brindley makes all the sense in the world, and why not push him a little bit here? Jared Bednar did it the other night against Vancouver. It worked out. See what Gavin Brindley does with Landeskog and Brock Nelson. And then, as it always seems to be, one in, one out. So Valeri Nichushkin out, Sam Girard back in. And I don't mean this to put down Sam Girard at all, because I know Sam Girard is a popular punching bag around here. I know that. I think Sam Girard, for what he is as a player, is just fine. I think the problem is people want him to be more. But credit to the guys who have been in there. Brent Burns, Sam Malinsky. That's another guy like Brindley that you're going, wasn't expecting this. I don't know if you've missed Sam Girard. I know I haven't brought up once the fact that he's been missing. Did you even notice? Again, nobody is putting down Sam Girard. I'm just saying that's how good the Avs have been. And now you get him. He's going to play with Malinsky tonight, and we'll see moving forward how Jared Bednar handles those second two D pairings. But Nichushkin out, Girard back in. Wedgwood, like Brindley earlier this week, locked in for the short-term future. Avs and Sabres coming up tonight. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, who needs this game more, the Denver Broncos or the Kansas City Chiefs? Welcome in hour 2 on this Thursday. Appreciate you watching the show on our social media platforms, starting with YouTube, but Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well. The handle is the same in all of those places at XTRA Sports 1300. If you follow me on those platforms, a couple of them. I'm not as abundantly available on social media. This show is. But I would say if you want to follow me, at Gingerly Tweets on Twitter and at GingeWatch on Instagram. But while you're there, no matter whether it's me or Extra Sports 1300 that you're consuming the show, like, follow, subscribe, whatever vernacular fits that particular social media platform, and you can interact with the show right there. Or you could call or text into the show at 719-247-1313. Before we go any further, want to shout out Jason, who won himself the 4 tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra on Sunday. I have another chance for you to win coming up later on in the show. But I would like to go to said text line to read a text regarding the question I posed to start the show. Who needs this game more? Denver or Kansas City? And I think that this texter cuts right to the heart of the matter. From the 719, it would be detrimental for the Kansas City Chiefs to lose this game. Not saying they wouldn't make the playoffs, but it makes it a whole lot harder, and they wouldn't control their own destiny at all. Denver could ultimately lose and be okay, but if they win, they could potentially clinch an AFC West title. And that is perfect, because it's kind of a trick question. Who is it more important to? Well, it depends on what importance you put on this game. For the Kansas City Chiefs, what the texter pointed out is absolutely right. And I know that nobody at this point is genuinely worried that the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to somehow find their way into the playoffs. But this is the Kansas City Chiefs we're talking about. They play for division titles. They want the road to the Super Bowl to go through Arrowhead Stadium. So I know there's a sense that, the Chiefs just need to get in. Which kind of leads me to my other point. But this is still a team with the division title as their goal. As many games in Kansas City in the playoffs as they can get. So this game is extremely important to Kansas City in that regard. And look, I do think that the Chiefs will find their way into the playoffs, but I'd feel a whole lot better about that if they beat Denver. I mean, how long can this go on with you looking at the playoff picture and they're sitting at number 8 is Kansas City? Right? It can get late earlier than you think. So I understand that this for the Kansas City Chiefs is not make or break for their playoff chances, to the texter's point. But this is a team that's won 9 straight division titles. And to say that they don't care about getting their 10th straight, that's nonsense. They do care. Will they deal with it? Will they be heartbroken if they don't? No. They want to get into the playoffs ultimately. But they want to win the division. So if you're talking about math, in division titles and in playoff odds and all that stuff, it's more important to Kansas City. But if you're talking about perception, it is far more important for the Denver Broncos to win on Sunday. And then you just have to take it which direction. You have to decide which one matters to you more right now. Do you care more about the math or do you care more about the perception? Because this is the first game since the Philadelphia game where the Broncos have a chance to change hearts and minds. After the Philadelphia game, everybody was climbing on the bandwagon. You notice how quickly people have jumped off in the last few weeks? We got Colin Cowherd talking about how he wonders if the Broncos are going to draft another quarterback here soon. Like, my goodness, that guy was driving the bandwagon this offseason. But he said after the Philadelphia game, there wasn't, and it's the way the schedule falls. That's not the Broncos' fault. I suppose the reasons why people are jumping off the bandwagon is a little bit the Broncos' fault. But even if they looked very good beating a lot of these teams between Philadelphia and the Kansas City game, there wouldn't be, if you were a holdout in believing in the Broncos, none of these opponents would make you feel like, oh, okay, now I believe in the Broncos. And it's just the way it works. There's only a few games on every team's schedule that you truly circle and say that game matters. I'm going to base my opinion on this team, my overarching opinion on this team, based on this game and this game and this game and this game. The last one for the Denver Broncos was Philadelphia. The next one is Sunday. And something that Sean Payton spoke about.
The players are aware of division games, and certainly there's great respect for a team that's had the staying power that they've had. So, you've worked hard to put yourself in a position to play a game like this at home. We'll play in bigger games. I say that all the time. We're going to play in bigger games, but this is the next one.
It is the next one. And the perception around this team on whether they'll actually play in bigger games. I mean, I suppose you could say any playoff game is more important than any regular season game. So that could be at minimum what Sean Payton is referring to there. But it is that next one that everybody's going to be watching. And come Monday, there are going to be a lot of people that have very strong opinions about the Denver Broncos based on what happens on Sunday. Broncos don't need this game to get into the postseason. To the Texans' point, they might not even need it to ultimately win the division. But they need it for perception, nationally and locally. Because Sean Payton, those words that he spoke after the Buffalo game and how they felt about their next opponent, laid the groundwork that no matter what happens around the two Kansas City matchups, none of that is more important than these two games. The math has worked out where this may not ultimately decide the division. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We still got time. Probably the Christmas game will have some of that consequence to it. But I think if you are really going to buy in to this Denver Broncos team and what they could do, they have to win on Sunday. Because a loss on Sunday, and it's, well, they've had a nice season, but now you start to go and look back. Well, they beat Dallas and they beat Vegas and they beat this team and that team. And really, they only played very well in the fourth quarter against Philadelphia, if you're really thinking about it. Right? That kind of talk is going to happen. And it's already been happening. Right? This fourth quarter Broncos versus the first three quarters. And it's starting to become more of an issue about the first three quarters than marveling at what the Broncos can do in the fourth. It's kind of the next step. All right, we get it. Fourth quarter, you're good. You're locked in. You can win games. How about the previous three quarters that I got to sit through? When are you going to do something there? Well, this is the game to do it. They do it in this game, then I think the perception around this team is they can win it all. I really do. And from a local perspective, right, it's not that the Broncos are on this long losing streak to Kansas City. They already snapped that streak and they did it with Russell Wilson. This is a game where there's no, how do I want to put this? There's no perception that, oh, well, just, Kansas City, they don't really care, because they're so far ahead and maybe they're taking the Broncos lightly. I don't think that they are. And this is a game that if they win, it's a major milestone in Sean Payton's rebuilding of this team. Because Kansas City's not missing anything. And I'll say certainly the team that you could say is missing more in terms of personnel on Sunday, it's Denver. It's not Kansas City. The Broncos, because of the way they've played, because of the situation that these two teams find themselves in, the Kansas City Chiefs are solely focused on the Denver Broncos. It's not looking ahead to a matchup with Buffalo or Baltimore. Their entire focus is on Denver, and it's been on Denver for 2 weeks now. The Broncos are getting post-bye Andy Reid on Sunday. They're getting arrested Patrick Mahomes. They're getting an overall healthier Chiefs team than the Broncos are right now. Because of the way this season has played out for both teams and where they find themselves going into Sunday, you're not going to be able to dismiss what happens on Sunday. What happens on Sunday, it's real. Nobody's overlooking anything. Chiefs need it more to get into that playoff picture, still have a chance at the division, and losing would be very detrimental to them for the division. But in terms of perception, who needs this more? Denver does. Take your thoughts at 719-247-1313. Who needs this game more? Really? Which do you value more? Right now, what is more important to you? Are you just looking at that finish line and saying you just need the Broncos to cross that line and be division champions? And even if they don't beat Kansas City, they have plenty of games that Corey Roldan brought up in the last hour that they should be able to win. Is that all you're focused on, or are you focused on that the stuff that's harder to quantify? Perception, vibes, all of that kind of stuff. That's really what I think the question is. 719-247-1313. Jeff Fedotin from Believe in Chiefs. How much do the Chiefs need this game? I'll ask him next on Extra Sports 1300. Welcome back to the show. It's finally here, Broncos and Chiefs. A little bit more on this matchup than we have seen in many a year. Joining me now to discuss is one of the outstanding hosts of Believe in Chiefs on Believe Network. He has been on the show before because he is great at what he does. He is Jeff Fedone. Jeff, great to have you, buddy. Good to see you. How are you?
Hey, man, great to be on with you. Always fun chatting with you, and appreciate the info in the intro. What praise, man. Appreciate it.
Well, you deserve it. So let me ask you, with your encyclopedic knowledge of the Kansas City Chiefs, when's the last time that the consequence of a Broncos-Chiefs game felt like it does this week?
Wow. Definitely not in the Patrick Mahomes era. I think maybe even before the Peyton Manning era, I think we might be going back to the days when my podcast partner Joe Valerio was playing and John for the Chiefs and John Elway was playing for the Broncos. That's how big this was, and how it's been an interesting rivalry because it seems like teams have taken turns. Elway used to obviously own the Chiefs. Peyton Manning owned the Chiefs, and now during the Mahomes era, it's pretty much flipped. So it's interesting that for a big rivalry, both teams. It's not like it's gone back and forth. It's just been periods of dominance by each respective team.
Who do you think needs this game more, Denver or Kansas City?
Absolutely the Chiefs, because like if they don't win, they're 5-5, and Denver is then 9-2 with a game on Kansas City. Like if the Chiefs lose, I don't see how they can win the division. I think they would still make the playoffs, and the Chiefs have proven they did this once during their great run here in 2023 that they did win the Super Bowl by winning 2 playoff games on the road, but that's really tough to do, and this would be 3 games on the road, and their margin for error is not quite, it's a little bit more slim than it used to be.
Is there a bigger story here than just 1 year if Denver beats Kansas City on Sunday? Like, is there any feeling in Kansas City that if they were to seed this game and ultimately seed the division to Denver, that perhaps their era of dominance is over, but maybe like this will now be the two of them battling for the next however many years? Is there that kind of a feeling to it, bigger than just the consequence of this season?
I don't think I get what you're saying with the changing of the guard, and I don't think it's quite there yet because I think it's also the division as a whole. I mean, the Chiefs are still behind the Chargers too, so I think it's the statement is that there's so many similarities between the Chiefs' run of dominance and the Patriots' run of dominance. Both teams were great quarterbacks, great coaches. But they also beat up on a pretty lousy division. I mean, the Jets have been terrible forever. The pre-Josh Allen Bills were not good. The Dolphins have been looking for a quarterback basically since Marino. And that was the Patriots recipe. Beat up on the division, get home playoff games, go to the Super Bowl. And that's what the Chiefs have done. So I think it's more that the division is now much tougher with really good coaches. And it's much more competitive for the Chiefs.
Can we just split up this Chiefs season before Rice and after Rice? I mean, does his return to the lineup, does that feel like this watershed moment for this Chiefs team and everything's been different since?
Huge difference. And I would even say like the difference between having Worthy and Rice, the fact that Worthy basically missed 3 games and Rice was also gone for 6. Just having one of them makes a big difference. Having both of them is a huge difference. Yeah, that's really, the Chiefs have some issues, but the biggest reason for their struggles really was just the injuries at the wide receiver is really been the big issue for them and why they got off. They started out 0-2 and it's been hard to dig out of that hole. They're still outside the playoff. If the season ended today, they would still be outside the playoff picture.
What's the state of the Chiefs offensive line going into Sunday?
Yeah, so Josh Simmons is back. He's practicing, as is Juwan Taylor. They've been pretty coy on whether Josh Simmons is going to play after missing all that time for personal reasons. But he's back practicing, so I would expect him to play. And Juwan Taylor, who the last game before the bye against the Bills missed time with an ankle, he's been back practicing. So I would think that the offensive line will be back intact, and that's going to be a huge difference. Patrick Mahomes was hit 15 times in the Bills game, and that was a big reason the Chiefs lost. And of course, I think that's the matchup to watch against that great Broncos defensive line. So they're gonna need a healthy offensive line, and I think they'll have that.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question is how worried would the Chiefs be going up against the Broncos pass rushers. So let me flip it the other way. As the Chiefs are getting healthier or getting guys back, the Broncos are losing people. So from a Chiefs perspective, which injury is more significant, Pat Surtain's or J.K. Dobbins's?
I think Surtain's he's the defensive player of the year. So I think it's more significant. And also, I've liked what I've seen of RJ Harvey. He's going to obviously have a bigger role, but I think that's how do you replace the defense, lockdown corner? I think he's the best corner in football. So how do you replace that where it's a little bit easier to replace Dobbins as good a year as he has? And it might level the playing field a little bit. I don't expect Isaiah Pacheco to play. I thought he'd actually be back with a minor knee injury after the bye, but it's looking like he's not going to be playing. So maybe that evens both will have their kind of starting running backs out. So it might kind of level the playing field for the respective running games. So
what's wrong with Chris Jones, Jeff?
He talked with the media on Thursday today, and he admitted it's been a tough season, and he was very optimistic. The second half is going to be better for him. Yeah, he has. I wrote about this for Forbes.com. He has just 2 sacks. It's the lowest. He's never had this few sacks since his rookie season in 2016. Mm-hmm. He's actually been pretty good against a run. I was trying to find some stats for that. It's hard to find analytics on run stats. So he has been pretty solid on that, but he has not, he was dominant. And yes, he's been getting a ton of double team blocks, but he's always been getting that. He usually beats them. So you wonder, he's 31, maybe age is catching up to him a little bit. And it's not just the sack numbers, that Jacksonville game, the Monday night game they lost, he stopped pursuing the play when Trevor Lawrence tripped twice near the goal line, and Lawrence ended up running in the touchdown. So he basically, that's the end of the game. The end of the game against the Chargers, Justin Herbert sealed it by running for a first down, and Chris Jones lost contain. Now, credit to him, he's been a stand-up guy. He admitted those errors about both of them. He even talked about the Chargers play today on Thursday. So yeah, he's been that I think is a concern for the Chiefs. The defense is still really good, but if Chris Jones is just good and not dominant, that might put a little bit of a ceiling on how far this team can go, or at least, again, I talked about the margin of error. I think when they had great Chris Jones and great offense, they could beat you in so many ways. This team absolutely can still win a Super Bowl, but if Chris Jones is not dominant, it is more difficult, obviously, to do so.
What does Spags have in store for Bo Nix?
Yeah, right. I think with a whole week to come up with stuff, that I think he's going to have some very creative blitzes. I'm sure he's going to have something. I think he's the best defensive coordinator in the league. I think Vance Joseph is up there too, but I think Spags has a little bit less to work with, and that Denver defense is so talented. So yeah, I'm sure that's going to be one of the storylines of the game. Second year quarterback versus a guy who's so good at deploying creative blitzes like Coach Spags is.
What has been, whether it's Spags or Broncos coordinators speak today, I don't know if the Chiefs have the same schedule in terms of when their coordinators speak, but whether it's Andy Reid or Chris Jones or anybody, what have they said about what concerns them going up against Bo Nix and the Broncos offense as by extension?
Yeah, the Chiefs have the same schedule. The coordinators spoke here on Thursday, and they were giving nothing but praise to Bo Nix and the offense. I think you have to. I think that they may not have been worthy of that praise during the last time we saw them play on that Thursday night game. My eyes are still burning from that, Ryan. It felt like Thursday night football. I thought we had kind of gotten past that. Of those sad sack games, but I'm digressing. But they were praising Bo Nix, and they were certainly praising Sean Payton, how difficult he is to prepare for. Coach Spags, he's such a great coordinator. He's such a great quote. He really is informative. He was saying how it's difficult to prepare for Sean Payton's schemes because he has so many different personnel groupings coming in and out. That's one of the challenges he cited today.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about how Sean Payton needs to stop sending in so many different personnel groupings before every single play. And it's funny to me, Jeff, because I hear on a weekly basis when I hear whether it's guests that cover the opponent of the Broncos or just hearing from the opponent's coaches, they always talk about Bo Nix with his legs. And then we're talking here about how Sean Payton won't let Bo Nix run. And now here we're talking about, how the personnel groupings kind of throw off the defense. And we're talking here locally about how Sean Payton's got to stop that because it's confusing the defense, but it also might be confusing and panicking Bo Nix.
It's funny, right? He must be known for that. I wrote a feature for Forbes.com about the play script, the 15 play script.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize if you hear my dog barking in the background. Hopefully it's just adding color to the broadcast here. But anyhow, I interviewed Brian Billick for this story, who's been out of the game, obviously, for a bit, the former Baltimore Ravens coach. And when I was asking about scripting and stuff, the first guy he cited was Sean Payton for saying that, like, he called it probing, that he, like, would send in so many different personnel formations just trying to probe the defense and see what worked and what didn't. So he really, I guess, is a master of that. Maybe sometimes it sounds like he goes a little too far, but kind of interesting that that's what he's known for, clearly.
Well, I think, not to add too much editorial here, but I think when you have Drew Brees as your quarterback, it's maybe easier to get away with that stuff than when Bo Nix is. But that's the challenge that is going on every week, regardless of whether it's the Chiefs or any other opponent against the Denver Broncos. Let me ask you this, Jeff, in closing here. What do you think ultimately, whether it's you mentioned the pass rush of the Broncos against the Chiefs offensive line. Is it that for you, or is it something, some other aspect of the game that you think you're looking at that could ultimately tip the scales one direction or another?
I think the obvious key is the one you mentioned. Again, Patrick Mahomes hit 15 times by the Bills defense, which is really not that great a defense, to be honest. They're okay. Certainly they don't have the talent on the defensive line that the Broncos do. So I think they're going to be better prepared with a week off, bye week here going into this matchup. But if Mahomes is hit like similar to that, double-digit times, maybe that really is going to favor the Broncos. I think the other key matchup, like we talked about, is just Bo Nix. Is that he's been a little bit inconsistent in his second year in how he play. If he plays like he did on Thursday night, I don't see the Broncos winning. But if he plays like he has in the fourth quarter of some of these games, and like he did toward the end of last year, I think obviously the Broncos have a great shot.
Well, it feels bigger than it has in a very long time, and that's great, right? Whether you're a Chiefs fan or whether you're a Broncos fan, the consequence of this game, how big it feels. CBS is going to be up in Denver doing their pre and post game shows and everything from Empower Field, so this feels really big, maybe game of the year big. And looking forward to it. Jeff, always appreciate the time and the insight. Give my best to Joe, and we'll talk very soon.
We'll do, man. Always a pleasure. We'll have to do this again because we're going to meet again. They might even meet 3 times the way these teams are playing this year.
And speaking of, me and the boys are looking to try and figure out what to do for Christmas. So I don't know if maybe you and your former Chiefs offensive lineman have any connections, but the Kaufman family would love to spend Christmas at Arrowhead if you can make it happen. Although I am losing my son to the cult of personality that is Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo. I'm starting to lose him, Jeff. I'm worried about it, but a win on Sunday may keep him
They
tethered to the
keep
Chiefs.
him for sure. Well, we'll see what we can do. The
Yeah.
Chiefs in the Mahomes era are not the easiest organization to get tickets, to get credentials for. So, well, we'll see. We'll see what Joe can do.
Yeah, and maybe if it was the Brody Croyle era, I
Right.
could,
Well, no problem.
I could join you. Jeff, appreciate it, bud. Enjoy the game on Sunday.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, you bet. That's Jeff Fedone does a fantastic job covering the Chiefs on Believe in Chiefs, but also on Forbes, as he mentioned, Forbes.com. He has a great piece up about Chris Jones and what has been ailing him this season, and the image of Trevor Lawrence falling down and getting back up and running for that touchdown has kind of been emblematic of the Chris Jones season. It's not great. But if he terrorizes Bo Nix and wrecks the game on Sunday, that will be a distant memory. Good stuff from Jeff. 719-247-1313. If you would like to weigh in, who needs this game more, Broncos or Chiefs? More Drive Time Sports after this. A lot of talk about the football game on Sunday. I know you're locked into that, but what are you doing after? Want to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra? They're performing at the Broadmoor World Arena. I don't think it's actually the holiday season until TSO rolls through town, which they will. Sunday night, 7:30. I got 4 tickets for the 13th texter to text TSO and their name to 719-247. 1313. Great stuff from Jeff Fedotin, Believe in Chiefs, writer for Forbes.com. Answering the question, who needs this game more? Who's this game bigger for? Jeff says Chiefs. I say, because this is the way I am, I think it just depends on your perspective. Do you care more about the math to win a division title? Or do you care more about perception? Chiefs need this game more if they want to win a division. It will help them get into the playoffs. Broncos need this game to get respect. And to, I think, make people here truly buy into what is going on. And I asked Jeff the question about the bigger picture here. Like, does this mean that Bo Nix and Patrick Mahomes, if the Broncos win on Sunday, are destined to battle like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes every year from here on out? Maybe it's too early for that. But I think it's the idea that the Broncos can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City. And they can beat them. Does that mean that they're going to win? They're going to take control of the division for the next decade? Probably not. Does it even mean that the Broncos will turn around and beat them in game 2 or potentially, as Jeff mentioned, game 3? No. But it's kind of the next mile marker to say, especially with the rhetoric that Sean Payton has put out there about his belief that they have what it takes to beat Kansas City. Maybe that's the perception more than anything else. And right now, Sean Payton has taken his lumps. Right? There is a division forming in the fan base and throughout the media of kind of, are you team Nix or are you team Payton? Who's letting down who here? And if Broncos fans or media members who are maybe a little bit down on Sean Payton see his plan pay off and the Broncos beat the Chiefs, then it's once again another big matzo ball that Sean Payton has thrown out there, like he did with Nathaniel Hackett, like he's done on various occasions, that he actually follows through on. And that's one thing you could say about Sean Payton, is that every time he opens his mouth and says something that you go, whoa, sure you want to say that? Kind of ends up backing it up. Not immediately with the Nathaniel Hackett thing, but I think in the long run, he's gotten the last laugh on all of that. I think the Broncos, to be taken seriously as a contender, they have to beat Kansas City. Because if they don't, it's just back to, well, they look terrible against the Raiders. Oh, they beat a terrible Dallas Cowboys team. They beat the Houston Texans without Davis Webb, without CJ Stroud, with Davis Webb. All of that stuff comes flooding back. But they win. It's like the Philadelphia game. This is the Broncos staking their claim to say, we demand your respect. This from the 303. Kansas City could win the rest of their games if the Broncos can't beat them. Kansas City could win the rest of their games if the Broncos can't beat them. They do not have a hard game for the rest of the games other than the Broncos. But take it from the other side of it. Look at the Broncos schedule. Okay, so maybe you're right. Kansas City doesn't beat Denver, but they win the rest of their games. Well, I don't think Denver is going to fall off a cliff here down the stretch. I think they're going to pick up. I mean, the Green Bay game, LA, they play Kansas City again. I suppose you look at it and say that the Chiefs might be able to get in another way. But that's a lot that has to happen. Right? If the Chiefs win this game, then the belief is, oh, here they come, they're going to win the division. If they lose, to Jeff's point, now you're doing some mental gymnastics and looking at the schedule and saying, okay, well, the Chiefs have this team, and this team, but the Broncos have to lose. And now what's the third or fourth tiebreaker that they have to get into? It's much cleaner for Kansas City. So it's kind of the same way with Denver in terms of the perception, right? Because the Broncos have another way. If they lose on Sunday, they have another way to garner that respect. Go into Arrowhead on Christmas and beat them. So that would absolutely be on the table when they meet up on Christmas. But it's better if they win this game. It's more likely that they win this game. Same with Kansas City. Yeah, you could do the math and somehow see that the Kansas City Chiefs could still mathematically win the division. But it's a lot easier if they win on Sunday. It's a lot cleaner. And you don't want to run out of time. Broncos don't want to run out of time for the ability to garner the respect as a Super Bowl contender gets. And the Chiefs don't want to wait any longer than they have to surge back to the top of this division. Both of them have the ability to accomplish those same things later. But isn't it just much better for those teams to do it Sunday? I think it is. From the 719, this is a huge game for both teams. I think this is a must-win for the Chiefs, but I also think it's a must-win for the Broncos to show the rest of the NFL world that the 8-2 record is not a fluke. And to piggyback off of that, why is it that any other elite NFL team could win close games like the Broncos have, but when the Broncos do it, they kind of become a joke, and it's just a fluke deal? That's an interesting saying. First of all, your first text, Jason, agree with, right? That's what I'm talking about. I think that the Broncos need this game for respect. As to your second point, I have seen so many statistical comparisons between Patrick Mahomes last year and Bo Nix this year. You know what the difference is in that comparison and the comparison between Kansas City as a team and this year's Denver Broncos? It's what they've done previously. It's their history. Kansas City went through what they did last year, very Broncos-like in the way they were winning games. Heck, they beat the Broncos on a blocked field goal. So you're right. The comparisons are there. You can see it. Why doesn't anybody, and we speak in generalities, there were plenty of people that were detracting from Kansas City and what they were doing last year. Like, let's be real about that. But why it seems like there were more people that were willing to believe that the Chiefs were just a good team winning close games and not so much the Denver Broncos because the Kansas City Chiefs are the NFL's dynasty. Compares statistical comparison between Patrick Mahomes and Bo Nix. Patrick Mahomes has got an MVP trophy. Patrick Mahomes has been doing this for years. So when the Chiefs do what the Broncos are doing this year, it's, they're not the Chiefs that we know, but they're still the Chiefs, right? With the Broncos, it's that same mentality. Yeah, the Broncos are doing this, but they're still the Broncos. Far removed from being one of the best teams in the NFL. When they say but they're the Broncos, it's the Broncos of Russell Wilson, the Broncos of Drew Lock, the Broncos of Trevor Siemian and Case Keenum. It's what have you done for me recently? That's why it's perceived very differently. Mahomes last year is a down year. Chiefs being involved in all these one-score games is a down year from what they've been. With the Broncos, this is the best they've been in years. And that's why Sunday's game is so important, just like the Eagles game way back when was. To say, no, we're just a good team that wins close games. It's the recent history. That's why the perception is different. I see the similarities too. But it takes more to buy into what you're seeing from the Denver Broncos than it takes to dismiss last year as kind of a down year for Kansas City, or in some ways a bit of a fluke. And look at what the Chiefs have done this year. Started off slow, lost some close games, and everyone went, here's the regression. Here we go. And then what they decide to do? We'll just beat every team by 2 touchdowns. But that's where the perception changes. Now you have the Eagles game, and then you have the Kansas City game. The timing of this game is important because everyone's back on to Kansas City and everyone's off of the Broncos. They can flip that with a win on Sunday. Keep taking your thoughts at 719-247-1313. The 3 stories that are driving the show coming up next. Hello there. Welcome in hour 3 on this Thursday edition of the show, although it will only be half an hour. Thursday night football coming up. New England Patriots. What's the conversation around New England? Are they for real? Maybe we'll get into that subject. I don't know that tonight's opponent will tell the story of how real the New England Patriots are, but it is funny that the perception around New England right now is they are on a rocket ship to the moon. Number 1 seed, all of this kind of stuff. And here are the Denver Broncos, kind of with the same shot that the Patriots do. Not being talked about that way. Why? Because New England beat Buffalo. And because Drake May is better than Bo Nix. But player for player, coach for coach, Broncos and Patriots, I think from a talent perspective, are about the same level, but Drake May's better than Bo Nix. That's one reason. And the second reason is New England slayed their dragon. They beat Josh Allen. Broncos have a chance to do that same thing on Sunday. Which kind of goes into one of the 3 stories that are driving the show, which I will get to right now. All right, we'll get to the Broncos of it all coming up, but we gotta start with what this guy did last night.
Joker looking for his career high in the first quarter. Can he get it? Jumper. Good! That's 20 for Joker in the first quarter. A new career high. And Denver leads it by 10, 34-24.
Jason Kosmiski on the call for Altitude as heard. Right here on Extra Sports 1300. Nikola Jokic wasn't done, by the way. When that first quarter last night was finished, Nikola Jokic was on track to do the ultimate not-since wilt. A quarter of the way through the game, he had 25 points. He did fall off the pace, only ended up with a pedestrian 55 one night after a Jokician. We need to get some kind of adjective. That doesn't really work, but we'll work on that. He did what he did against Sacramento. And forget what happened the rest of the game. The very next quarter, after that massive performance against the Kings, the very next night, very next quarter, 25. En route to a game-high 55. How is this possible? It's possible because the Nuggets needed it to be possible. That is Nikola Jokic. He does whatever the Nuggets need him to do. And opposing teams cannot stop him from doing the thing that the Nuggets need him to do. You could tell early on in that game last night, the Nuggets as a whole just did not have it on the second night of a back-to-back. They lost Cam Johnson early. They ended up losing Christian Brown in that game. The bench showed us, remember what it was like just last year with the non-Jokic minutes? Yeah, we got reminded of that. Perhaps It's good, a reminder of what it used to be so you can appreciate what it is now a little bit more. Nuggets didn't have it. And Jokic spotted that early. He threw down that dunk, a thunderous jam, and he just took off from there because the Nuggets needed him to do that. And the Nuggets needed every one of his 55 points to beat the Clippers last night. Every one of them. But to do that the night after, he did what he did against Sacramento. You don't see this. Nikola Jokic, not that you needed convincing because we've talked about load management in second night of a back-to-back before. Every perception that is out there about, you got to load manage guys. You got to sit them out games. Not Jokic. Second night of a back-to-back, it's tough. It's tough. That's where most guys get load managed. Not Nikola Jokic. He turns all of these widely held beliefs by NBA stars and NBA teams and turns it on his head and says, no, I don't need to miss games. Just give me like a real rest when I go to the bench and I'll come back and I'll be better. He only played 34 minutes last night. It's not like David Adelman had him out there the entirety of the game. He played as many minutes as he's been playing. And yet he's more productive. And it's just another thing that proves that he is the anti-superstar. Everything you think about when it comes to NBA superstars, and let's be honest, most of it is bad these days. Nikola Jokic is anti that. He doesn't have a wandering eye, despite what Lakers fans wish would happen. He doesn't want to miss games. He doesn't need to be out on the floor for every minute of every game as long as his team holds up their end of the bargain and he can be even better. He turns all of these things on its head. And to put up 55 the night right after he had that kind of performance against Sacramento. Just unreal, but yet so real because you have been living in this for years. The Clippers did exactly what they wanted to do. They turned Jokic into a scorer. Didn't matter. Ty Lue said it. Didn't think he would score 55. Well, he did. And the Nuggets get a win against the Clippers. Nothing else went well except Nikola Jokic last night. Let's get to the Broncos. Here's story number 2.
The players are aware of division games, and certainly there's great respect for a team that's had the staying power that they've had. So, you've worked hard to put yourself in a position to play a game like this at home. We'll play in bigger games. I say that all the time. We're going to play in bigger games, but this is the next one.
This is the next one, as that is Sean Payton, Broncos head coach, if you didn't know. This is the next one to change the perception, to garner the respect that a team that has currently 8 wins would normally get, but the Broncos aren't getting that respect. This is the next game. Philadelphia was the last one. It was a while ago. A lot has happened. A lot bad. Even though the Broncos are winning, there's a lot of stuff for people to pick apart and say, yeah, they're not really all they're cracked up to be. Here's their chance to prove that they are. So therein lies the big question. We know the consequence is high for both of these teams. It's not a whatever game for either. But who is it more important for? And I think your answer to that depends on what you value most at this stage in the season. Do you value the division and playoff positioning? Because then the Chiefs need this game more than the Broncos do. Broncos got a bit of a cushion there. But if you want to talk about perception, Broncos need this a whole heck of a lot more than Kansas City does. People are ignoring Kansas City's record right now. They don't care what Kansas City's record is. They don't care that if the playoffs started today, the Chiefs wouldn't be in. The conversation around Kansas City is they're back, they're spectacular, and they're the team to beat in the AFC. They're not even currently holding a playoff spot. And I don't think one loss to the Denver Broncos is going to change that. In turn, people are still going to believe in Kansas City, even if they lose on Sunday. But they'll believe in Denver a whole heck of a lot more if they're able to beat Kansas City. That's what it is. If you just care about the division and playoff seeding, the Chiefs need this game much more than Denver does. But if you care about the perception of this team, Broncos need it more. But it is quite consequential for both teams. And now here is story number 3.
Zadorov shoots, and that hit a man in front. Shot. Oh, my goodness. What a glove save by Wedgwood.
Altitude Television on the call. Scott Wedgwood has signed on the dotted line. He will be in Colorado this year and next year, signing a 1-year extension worth $2.5 million. And like Michael from Arrested Development, when he meets Anne's mom, of course, you got to lock that down. The way Scott Wedgwood is currently playing, the Avs need to keep him for as long as they can and ride this thing out. And credit to Scott Wedgwood for saying, I'm happy here. I'll sign up for another year. I don't need to test the market. But a 1-year extension worth $2.5 million, that's not starting goaltender money. I think that's the other part of this here. Is that as much as Scott Wedgwood has been this great story, as much as he deserves for the Avalanche to extend his contract, he has earned this. But ultimately, if the Avalanche are going to get to where they want to go, it's not going to be Scott Wedgwood in net. It's going to be Mackenzie Blackwood. That is decent money for his second goaltender. And Scott Wedgwood right now is playing like a number 1. So he has been huge ROI for the Colorado Avalanche. But ultimately, bigger picture, they need Mackenzie Blackwood to get back to what he was last year, what he was in the playoffs, because that is the goaltender that they need to win a Stanley Cup. But what Scott Wedgwood has done has been terrific. They wouldn't be where they are without him. And it's good to see him rewarded for it. And it's great to see that Scott Wedgwood does not have that wandering eye. He wants to stay in Colorado as much as Colorado wants to keep him. So at least for one more year, the Avs do lock that down with Scott Wedgwood. Your thoughts at 719-247-1313. Let this be your last reminder to cast your vote for our Extra Sports Athlete of the Week. Reagan McCrae from Cheyenne Mountain, Cameron Tertullian from Mesa Ridge, Ellie Wagner from Evangel Christian Academy, and Oliver Horton from Coronado are your nominees. Cast your vote tonight before midnight, and we'll reveal the winner on tomorrow's show. Let's close out with some of your thoughts on the day's topics. 719-247-1313. Wide-ranging opinions regarding who this game means more to. Tom says, not a must-win for the Broncos at all. Who cares about respect? That's just a media-driven thing. Players don't care if the public or media respects them. Let me phrase it a different way then, Tom. How about confidence? You don't think that the confidence of the Denver Broncos has been a little bit wounded over the last few weeks? Do you think that they truly only care that they put the W on the board? That they, Jameis Winston, eat the W? You think that's all they care about? Sean Payton today talked about how even when they win, he doesn't feel fully satisfied with what happened because he feels like there's room to grow. And that's a natural competitor. And that's what, the people in any walk of life that think that way, I do believe, become very successful. But you don't think that permeates throughout the locker room? You don't think that the Broncos came away from that win against the Raiders and went, my God, how did we do that? You don't think there's any shred of doubt that is in the minds of the Denver Broncos? Because I remember how they talked after they beat Philadelphia. And the feeling after they beat Philadelphia was we could beat anybody. Has that confidence waned at all? I think that it has. Not to say that the Broncos aren't a confident team. I don't think they're feeling as bullish about themselves as they were after they walked off the field in Philadelphia victorious. And this is a way for them to get all of that back. Right? All the stuff that was said about them, the way that they felt after the Eagles game will come rushing back if they beat Kansas City. So maybe they don't care about perception from the outside. I don't know how you can't look at the Denver Broncos and listen to the players speak and think that they are just as confident as they were walking off the field in Philadelphia. I think they are disappointed with the way they've played. And they keep winning, and they deserve credit for that. That's why their confidence shouldn't be shot. But this is one of those games that, again, you win, you feel like you could beat anybody. And I think that the Broncos do need that. From the 719, in the last 29 games, the Broncos have beaten a winning team only 3 times. And that's including the Chiefs game that they threw away at the end of the year last year. And I think that just goes back to my response to an earlier text about, why can the Chiefs win all of these close games and they be praised for it, whereas the Broncos do it and they're frauds? That's the recent history I'm talking about. There's more to go on with Kansas City to say, oh, this is just them being down. They'll get back up. And they have. right? Took them a little bit, just like the Broncos. The fourth quarter Broncos didn't exist the first few weeks of the season, right? The Chargers game, the Colts game. There was a little bit of a hangover for both Kansas City and Denver the first few weeks of the season. Whereas a lot of what happened in 2024. Then the Broncos beat Philadelphia. They keep winning these games in the fourth quarter. Kansas City starts beating teams by multiple scores. And people are quick to jump back on the bandwagon with Kansas City. The Broncos, it goes to the respect thing. You don't earn the respect in one season or in 10 weeks, to be more accurate. You're not garnering the respect of fans and media members alike because you had a good 10 weeks. And even if you look like at New England, who's about to play shortly after the top of the hour, and everybody's fawning over Drake May, and they love the New England Patriots, one game. If tonight they play with their food a little bit and they don't look great and they lose, you watch tomorrow. There are going to be people burying the New England Patriots, calling them fraudulent. They're not what we thought they were. It's that quick. So even the teams right now, Indianapolis, New England, Denver, Pittsburgh, what a roller coaster ride it's been with the perception of that team. Green Bay. If you don't have the pedigree, if you don't have the reputation, it's very difficult to earn the respect, and it's very easy to lose it. Kansas City has earned, call it the benefit of the doubt if you want, by being a dynasty. And yeah, last year they didn't look like they were at the height of their powers, but it was a down Chiefs team, not who the Chiefs are. You gotta keep earning it. When you're a team that's been down for as long as the Broncos have been, you gotta earn it, and then you gotta keep earning it. And the Broncos have lost it over the last few weeks with these awful performances for 3 quarters, at least. Well, the Raider game was the full 4 quarters. This same texture, in the last 29 games for the Chiefs, they have beaten 11 teams with a winning record. Point well made. Reputation. Broncos have been a team up until the Philly game that loses close games and only beats mediocre teams. And the problem for them, if you want to call it that, is that they all of a sudden had a Dallas team without Micah Parsons on their schedule. The Houston Texans are not having the bounce back year that people were expecting them to have. Cincinnati lost Joe Burrow. I guess that was before Philadelphia, but that would have been another game where the Broncos could have earned some respect. You're not going to do it playing Jake Browning. It's not their fault. You can only play the teams in front of you. But now, the team in front of them is the team in front of them. This is the team. This is who they've made their identity to be. We can beat Kansas City. Sean Payton said it defiantly after they got their teeth kicked in by Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Can't say that this game isn't massive to the Denver Broncos. It is massive. And it's not just the way you and I view them. It's the way they view themselves internally. We'll have to leave it there. But we can pick back up this very same conversation tomorrow. What do you think I'm talking about tomorrow? A little bit of the Avalanche, maybe something from Thursday Night Football, but it's more Chiefs Broncos. But in the interim, appreciate you tuning in and interacting with the show. My thanks to Corey Roldan and Jeff Fedotin. Coming up in just a little bit, I'll be on KKTV 11 if you are so inclined. If not, enjoy your evening. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 3 right here on Extra Sports 1300.